Hello guys, how are you doing? Today I've actually just got my permit. I'm not kidding, legit 30 minutes ago. And I thought, you know what? What would be a better way to celebrate that than just to make a storytime video? This is a storytime again, back from Florida. And this was just the time I've driven a Lamborghini. Now, for all you rich folks out there are probably laughing and just saying, huh, this guy drove a Lamborghini. I own like 5 Lamborghinis. Am I right, Ty Lopez? That's what I thought. So this has actually happened back in Florida, so almost a year ago, and the rich guy that has actually invited us there, he's a good friend of mine. Durnan, he actually knew that I actually knew how to drive before I actually got my permit. I don't even need to be taught, but just by law, California law, I have to be. And he's like, hey, you know what? How about you just get some practice in my Lamborghini? And I'm like, oh, really? That's nice, because he knew I had to get it next year and everything, and I was like really excited for it. And so he just gives me his Lamborghini. Well, not gives me his Lamborghini. Obviously, he sat in it. But since, in case you guys don't know, the Lamborghini's engine is in the back. I've actually just figured that out because that's what he told me. I'm like, wait, what? Then what's in the front? He's like, oh, that's the trunk. And I'm like, kill me. But then he just sat right next to me and in the Lamborghini, and so we're in his not garage, well, yeah, garage in his driveway, and he's like, okay, back up. And so because I did know how to back up, I'm like, okay, and I barely pressed on the pedal and it starts rocketing backwards, and I'm like, okay, what happened? And so I just slammed the brakes. I'm like, I cannot do this. He's like, you're going to do this. You're going to do this, bruv. You are going to do this. And then I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then, of course, as I trying to barely even touch the pedal, it just goes back. And then, we're just right in the straightway. This was actually at night there, so it was dark. There were no cars, no one was outside. This was somewhere near Orlando. Wow, excuse me. But, so what happens is, as we're just driving down the street, I switched the gear to, like, drive. You guys know how Lamborghinis work. And so as we're just driving our way there, I'm barely getting the hang of it. The car is almost sliding all over the place, and I'm barely going 30 miles an hour. And everywhere, the car, especially in the back, just starts shifting all over the place, like moving everywhere. It was cancer, I'm not kidding. And that's when I was asking myself, how do people drive this thing? And so, you know, I was just driving around the block a couple of times, you know, just doing the normal human thing. And then he's like, you know what, you seem to get the hang of it, where I barely knew what I was doing. He's like, how about let's take the highway? I'm like, dude, I'm not taking the highway, I'm exiting right now. And he's like, nah, come on, you could do this. And so I'm like, you know what, whatever, YOLO. Now, that was the biggest mistake I've done, because as I started going the highway, you guys know that you actually have to drive faster there, and there where we were, the highway limit was 70 miles an hour. And so I'm just trying to speed up to the 70 mark, right? And the guy's like, you do not have to drive 70, you could drive 65. And I'm like, thanks. As if that's going to make a difference, because usually it doesn't. And so I'm like, okay. So I was driving just regular 65. People were driving around us. And the thing was really, really drifty. And I'm barely and I'm fighting for my life to stay in that one lane. I kind of forgot which Lamborghini it was. It was not a Gallardo. I kind of forgot. I'm gonna have to ask him. But I'm just gonna have to ask him which it was. But then, as we're just driving there, we were supposed to switch lanes to get off the highway, right? And there was a car right in front of us because we were in, well, not traffic, but the guy in front of us was driving like 30 miles an hour on the highway. And so, since I couldn't just press the brakes because the car would just spin out, I barely turned, not barely, but I did turn to, as you would in the normal car, to switch lanes and just continue. But as I did that, one thing I didn't know is you're supposed to apply much less force instead of more, because in the normal car, to get, you guys probably know this, but you're just supposed to signal, then you gotta just barely turn to the lane. And so when I tried to do that, it was, what has actually happened is I've accidentally done it quote-unquote too fast, because it was for a Lamborghini. And the car just started drifting even worse. I mean, 1 second the car's ass was on the right, then it was on the left, And I'm just drifting there, not knowing what to do, and obviously I couldn't panic at the moment, so I just tried to stabilize the car, but what I actually ended up doing was spinning the car out. I'm pretty sure people were recording this, so if you guys see a Lamborghini spinning out on a highway in Florida, that's me. And so, if you guys see, like, on YouTube, if you search it up, I'm pretty sure people did record this, but if they didn't, meh. Don't quote me on this, but yeah. If you guys see that, it's probably me. Red Lamborghini. But yeah, it was red, it had like a black stripe going right through it. It was... it was really nice, but I almost ended messing it up. And so I'm just over there spinning out on the highway, like driving all over the place, until I'm like, you know what, dude, you take the wheel. And so he's like, okay, okay. So now, since he didn't want to take the wheel, I'm like, oh god, what do I do now? He just gets up and he's like, okay, so what you need to do is this, this, and this. And I'm like, crap. And then we take the nearest exit. So I drive right out the exit, I go to the nearest place I could park, and it ended up being a hotel complex, and so I ended up parking there, and I'm like, dude, you take it now, I'm not gonna drive home. Home was like 20 minutes away. And the guy's like, you drive us. I'm like, don't you see, dude, I just spun out on the highway. He's like, well, try again. And then I'm like, dude, you really trust me with a Lamborghini? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, okay then. And so I just end up backing up out of there. I just keep going, doing the normal thing, and just keep on going back on the highway. And as I entered that highway, there were much more cars there to pass, and still, there's so much more people. As a matter of fact, I think we passed another Lamborghini. That one I remember, it was a Gallardo. Lamborghini Gallardo, I think. That's how it was pronounced. But it was one of those smaller, more older models. It was a stereotypical yellow with black stripe going through it. But as we were passing that, they just slowed down. They're like looking at us like, what are these psychopaths doing here? And at that moment, I'm like, no, well, I was thinking I might just keep going. Don't even look at me. Don't even look at. Pretend I'm not even here. But I was just drifting all over the highway because I was driving accidentally too fast. And then, of course, we ended up getting home. I spun out a couple times in between there. And yes, there was another time when I tried to switch a lane. I kind of forgot that I needed to kind of slow down, and so it wasn't that bad, but I ended up spinning out extremely badly. But not extremely badly, but I still again ended up spinning out, and it was right next to home. And then at that point, since we were like half a mile away from home, I'm like, you know what, I cannot do this. So I got out of the car, him and I just started pushing the Lamborghini for about 500 feet. And then I'm like, you know what, never mind, I'll just drive home. And so I drove home at about 10 miles per hour because that's what I was best with at that moment. And he was there like, dude, you really can't drive. And I'm like, you just noticed, dude, you just noticed, are you serious? And he's like, well, you should have told me that you couldn't drive a Lamborghini. And I'm like, what have I been telling you this whole time? But we eventually got home, everyone was safe, we all had some coffee. Woo, more coffee. And then, at that moment, I have learned a valuable lesson. Don't ever drive a Lamborghini if you don't know how to drive it. But yeah, that was another little story time from Florida. Also, sort of a thing to celebrate that I finally got my permit on the third try of taking that test. It was actually really difficult, but still, YOLO. Anyways, I do hope that you guys enjoyed listening to this story or watching this video. If you did, leave a like if you like this kind of content and want more stories. Subscribe, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and I hope to see you all in another video. Peace out.